Hello friends! Well, I'm about to start sewing the blocks together for my Hearts in Pink February quilt, and I'm thankful that I had an extra day in February to get this done. What I did to prepare these was that I remember my blocks were 9 inches across and 10 inches in length. So I took a 4.5 inch strip and placed it on the right side of each one of my blocks. And then I took another 4.5 inch strip and put it all the way across the top. So now my blocks are measuring 13 wide by 14 tall. This is where I got my strips from, my white strips to go around the blocks. This is my 4.5 inch strip container. And what I do is when I have big pieces left over from when I long arm a quilt, I'll take those and cut them into strips. I've got from 1.5 all the way up to 6.5, and these are good for borders and sashings. And sometimes if I have like 3/4 of a yard left, instead of putting that in my 1 yard bins, I'll just cut it up into whatever strips I need, or whichever tub is the emptiest, and I'll just add it to those. So here I have some 13 inch strips and some 14 inch strips, 4.5 inches wide, of course. And the reason I still have those is because I'm going to have to add to the bottom row a strip on the bottom half of that unit. So I have 4 of those that I'll have to add a 4.5 by 13 inch strip. So that's why I have those cut. And by the way, I'm out of white now, out of my white strips. And then let me move over to this other side. On this side, I don't have any sashing. So on this side, I will need 6 14 inch long strips, and that will make my sashing for the outside of this one. And in this case, my sashing around the outside will be my border also. Okay, now let me tell you a little bit about how I decided to arrange this. Most of my strips are either vertically pieced or horizontally pieced. And so I tried to alternate those in the quilt. Now I had a few there at the end that were pieced with just odds and ends. As you can see there, that one and that one. Those will play either way, but they work better as horizontal. So that's kind of how I'm using those. They're kind of like the, you know, that card that you can play anywhere. So that's how I'm going to use those. All right, so we're going to go over to the sewing machine now, and I'm going to sew those strips onto the bottom, those bottom ones, and then I'll come back and I'll get the ones on the left side, and we'll sew those strips onto those. And then I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to piece this in quadrants. So like these 4 blocks will be one quadrant, and then those 4, these 4, these 4, and these 4. So I'll have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I'll have 6 quadrants. So I won't have any, or very few long seams to have to sew together. And that's the reason I do that. All right, so let's get to the stitching. I have my 4 blocks that I'm going to put the bottom sashing on first. So let me find those. And I think I will sew it on the side that has the seams. This is the 13 inch piece. Of course, you can pin if you like. I'm going to try it without pinning, but if it gets wonky or something, then I'll go pinning. Okay, I think I'll go ahead and press these so that I don't have to work so hard on the final pressing. So I'm just going to finger press that seam and then give it a little press with the hot iron. And there are those 4. Now we'll take those and lay them back out and then bring the 6 over. Now then, I need to pick up all of these. I'll put that one on the top and just pick them up like that. And then, you know what, that one's going to have longer. That corner one is going to have a longer sashing, so I'm going to have to go ahead and piece one for that one because I don't have any long pieces left. It'll be my last one. Okay, let's head back to the sewing machine. All right, we're using the longer strips now. So these are going to go on the left side of each block. Along this corner here, along this side. Then when I get to that last one, I'm going to have to do something a little different. This is a different white on white, but I think it'll be okay with a scrappy quilt. So I'll just put those seams on the top again. I'm going to stick a couple of pins. These are a little bit longer. I don't want them to stretch out of shape on me. Stick about 3 pins in the middle. A lot of people think that scrappy quilts aren't worth very much because they don't take much work. But let me tell you, scrappy quilts take more work than non-scrappy quilts because you got to sew all those little pieces together and then you've got to make them all work out. So just in case anyone asks, scrappy quilts are worthwhile. Here we go. So there's that first one I did. So now it has sashing around 3 sides. Go ahead and press that real quick. Oh, that one's too short. That one's too short also. Okay. Looks like I'm gonna have to piece some more sashing. I will be right back. Here's the long piece. I found 1 extra strip, so I had 3 strips to make 2 sashings out of. So it worked out without having to cut out any more strips. And this is the only one that has sashing all the way around. And it goes on the left bottom corner of our quilt. That's what completes the cycle. Okay, I'm ready to go lay these back out, and then I'll get that first quadrant ready and see you back at the sewing machine. Okay, I'm back and I have 2 of the ones on the left side with the extra sashing and the one right beneath it. So I will stitch these together, and then I'll stitch the 2 pieces together, and that will make a quadrant. So let's see how that comes out. And I am going to back stitch on these since they're the outside of the quilt. And here is my last quadrant finished. So I'm going to take this back over and lay it out on the bed with the others. And then I'll show you what is next. So as you can see, I have six large quadrants ready to stitch together. But I got to thinking about how long this quilt is in comparison to the width. And I got one of my other throw quilts. Now, I like my throw quilts long enough to come up to my neck and then tuck up under my feet in my recliner. And this one is very long. I could fold it up twice probably. So I think I have about decided that I'm going to take out one row of these. And I think it's going to be this row right here, the next to the last row. I'll leave the last row since it has that sashing on it. I'm going to take out this row, which is over there, it's that one. And all it will be is just ripping off the this sashing piece right here. Oh, you can't see it. This sashing piece right here. I'll just have to rip that off. And then I will save the part that I took out, and I will make pillow covers or a table runner or something like that to match the quilt. So I'm going to do that, and then that will give me, let's see. Oh, I gotta leave that top sashing, don't I? So then my quilt will look like this, basically, which is plenty long enough. So then when I get through with that, I will sew these two quadrants together and these two together. And this will not be a quadrant, it'll just be two blocks, one block this way. And I'll sew both of those together, and then I'll be ready to, the only thing I'll have left to do then is to sew these two longer seams, but it won't be quite as long as that one would have been. The other option would be to sew this whole side together and that whole side together and then down the middle. I'm not sure which one is best, which method is best. They're about the same, I guess. Might be easier to sew one longer seam together. So we'll see. I might do it that way. Because I've got short, 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 long. I'll think about that one. But right now I'm going to take these and just rip out that one seam on that side and one seam on that one. And then I'll be ready to do the rest of the assembly on this. All right, so I'll be back when I get to that point. So I chose to go with stitching two long columns together, and then I will attach those at the center, And that was after I took the one of the rows out because it was just too long for the width that it was going to be. And like I said, I will use those for pillows or a table runner or a baby quilt or something else. They won't go to waste, I promise. All right, I'm going to take this over there and clip it all together and get that last seam done, and then I'll show you how this turns out. So like I said, I decided to sew 2 long columns and then one long seam down the center. So I'm going to be clipping that together and then stitching it up, and then we'll be done with this little quilt top. Okay, I am going to clip it all together first because I don't trust myself otherwise. I think I need to flip it over the other way so that I can be sewing on the side that has the most seams to deal with.